Well, you know, as a kid, I always heard a phrase that God is good all the time. As a child, in my childhood, I didn't believe that because I didn't think God was very good at all. I thought he was not a very good person at all. I say that because the life I lived when I was a kid, my father was blind and I had to stay home and work. My friends could go out and play ball and do all kinds of fun things, but I had to stay home and feed 18,000 head of turkeys every year. I didn't think God was very good to me at that point. My wife and I was going to the same church, and we connected there at the church. And she was going through some difficult times as well. But you know, as we progressed along, we ended up getting married. That was a tough decision also because we didn't have anything. Actually, at that time, I also lost a brother drowned in a farm pond at the age of 14. And how could God be good all the time when had all that stuff going on? When we first got married, we had some good times and we had some bad times. But most of the time, it was like, why is this going on? Why is this going on? Not realizing that God was preparing us for the future. You see, when I was a young man, we had a few years of the trucking industry that we made a lot of money, and then we went broke. So I started in the insurance business. That went pretty well because I had a lot of contact with my prior customers. And then it went pretty good for a while, but then it would go south for a while, and then I'd say, God's not good again. You know, when I got closer to retirement, I started to look forward to looking to what I was going to do when I retire. I decided to put up a building. I put up a 48 by 40 building, put in some woodworking tools in there and some antique equipment. I thought that was going to be my man cave. That's what I was going to use. And I felt God was good to me at that point. He blessed me with all those things, the resources to be able to do that. And I was thankful about that. Then I ended up getting Parkinson's. I thought, now what's going on here? God, you blessed me with all the resources to build this building, and now Parkinson's. I'm not going to be able to use it like I thought I would. I started getting this urging in the back of my mind that I was supposed to share the tools and equipment and the resources that I had. I was not going to do that because I built it for me. It was mine. I wouldn't let anybody in the shop because it was kept nice and clean and everything was kept covered up and dust free, and I wouldn't even let my wife in there. She wouldn't put the tools back where they came from. But then I started getting this feeling I was supposed to share it. I did not want to do that. I fought that for the longest time, for 6 months or so. Our church was having what we called ABC groups, authentic biblical communities centering around a common interest. I got to thinking, you know, I wonder what would happen if I'd open up an ABC group in my shop. I went to the church and talked to the person who was coordinating that stuff, and she said, well, that's a great idea. I said, no, you don't understand. It's a horrible idea, but I just can't shake it. She said, why don't you just put it in the newsletter, and if nobody shows up, you know it wasn't God's will, but if people do show up, it's part of God's plan. I'll do that because nobody's going to show up anyway. That'll get me off the hook. The first night, 13 people showed up, and I was a basket case. They were using my tools. They weren't doing it right. They weren't treating them correctly. One of the gentlemen came to me and said, Bill, you look like you're a basket case. Why don't you just go sit down in the corner? So I went and sat over there in the corner, and I was just overcome with emotion. I thought, wow, what a blessing to be able to share. Well, consequently, that began to continue to grow. We ended up, ultimately, we had about 30 people coming. I needed to build on, so we built another 40 by 40 addition onto it, put in a restroom and a shop and a paint room. People started hearing about it, and I started getting people coming from quite a distance away coming to use the shop. And I would just furnish everything except if they wanted to build something for themselves. They could buy their own lumber, but otherwise we'd help them build it. The building began to be very well known in the area. One Sunday morning, my wife and I were asked to be greeters at church. And it was not the Sunday we were supposed to be scheduled to be greeters. Somebody else was not able to be there, so we was taking their place. So we went to greet, and they put us at a door we never would greet before. It's a large church. And as we're greeting, this young man came in, well, not really so young, but a small person. He came in and shook my hand, and he saw my name tag, and he said, Bill Bruxvoort. Bill Bruxvoort. He said, are you the guy that's got that big shop in Lighton? I said, yeah. He says, my name is Garrett Verhey, and he says, you got to talk to my brother Pete. Well, Pete happened to be the president of a competing bank in town, and I was the president of our bank in town. So here was two bank presidents competing with each other, and his brother saying, you got to go talk to my brother. I said, wonder what that's all about. Well, come Monday morning, in walks Pete into my shop and says, I'm in a hurry, I don't have time to talk right now, but here's a brochure. Look it over and see once if it's something you'd like to be involved with. I looked at it, there was a website, I pulled it up, and it was a website about pets. Now, it's not cats and dogs, but personal entertainment, energy transportation, where people would use three-wheeled hand crank cart to use them for mobility when they didn't have use of legs. I looked at that and I was really touched because I could just had a lot of pictures of people that were crawling in the dirt and being very handicapped and couldn't get along very well. So I thought about that, and then the following night we had a Bible study at our house where two other couples came. We were finished with Bible study, and I said, before you leave, guys, I said, come with me to my computer. I want to show you a website. So I did. Pulled it up, played the video. Got done, I looked over, and this one guy was very emotional. I said, what's going on, Larry? He says, I want to retire, and this is what I can do. How can I be involved? As time went along, we thought more about it and ended up with the four of us. Garrett, Pete, Larry, and I went to Florida for training to learn how to put together an affiliate to build these carts. Well, the first 10 we built were a train wreck. They were a disaster, but we stuck with it and continued to refine it. We have several thousand that have gone out to go to serve in more than 100 different countries. And we're still going at it and getting bigger and bigger and going further and further. You know, as I said, that God is good all the time. When I was younger, I didn't believe that part of the time. I just thought it was not true. But as I look back now, I realize that everything that God put me through was preparing me for the future. Even being here today, there's a specific reason. Just because it's not good feeling right now, I have a comfort to know that there's a purpose. There's a reason why I'm having the difficulties and trials. I still have trials and difficulties, and things doesn't always go right, but I know that God is good, and someday we'll understand why.